Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today's video is part of the Grads of Team Tiny Spooky Hop, and I'll be creating this Magic Iris Witch's Hat card. Today I'm using FAWN's Magic Iris dies to create my card. Now I got the set not too long ago, but I've only tried it out a couple of times. So there are several different dies in this set. One creates a circle, kind of a donut. Another one, people call it the flux capacitor because it looks kind of like something that should be in a time machine. And it cuts out some little slots on one of the circles. Then there are these hot dog or balloon shaped ones, and then there's these little pieces that are used for stabilizers, and then of course there is the little tab that you use to make the Magic Iris work. So I went ahead and cut out the all of the pieces ahead of time. So I've got my three donut shapes, including the one that has the little slots in it, and I'm going to go ahead and put those little sausages in those little slots. Now there's a little tab on each of those that just goes right into the slot, and you just line them up so that they are towards the outside of your donut and everything lines up straight. Now I can already tell that I'm going to have some trouble explaining this, so just make sure that you keep watching the video instead of just listening to me kind of chat about this. If you look at this now though, you can see that those little sausages form a perfect circle that's lined up with the donut. Now I've gotten out my mini glue dots because we're going to be using those as well on this. To be honest with you though, I don't trust myself to hold the sausage pieces in the right position, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some little pieces of washi tape just to hold them in place. Now this is just temporary until I get the first part of the assembly done, and it's just because I know I'm going to have these things sliding all over the place if I try to hold them by my hands. I have seen where someone else has used like little clothespins or something, so if you've got any mini clothespins, that would be perfect for something like this. I have some, but I don't know where they are, so I'm going to use my washi tape. After all, that is sitting on my desk. So now that I've got those held in place and I've got my hands free, I'm going to go ahead and use the little mini glue dots. Now what you do with these is on the end of each of those sausage pieces, the round end is a little X, and you put one of the little mini glue dots on that little X. You can't use full-size glue dots for this, so you have to make sure that they are the mini size. Now this part might be why I have a little trouble with the assembly of this card. I am having some trouble with the glue dots. I'm having trouble getting one off with a craft pick and for it to stick on the cardstock. It's not wanting to work. Luckily this is a dispenser type of glue dot, so I'm able to just use the dispenser instead and still be able to get perfect placement of the glue dot. Next we're going to place one of those extra donuts on top of the one that we've just been working on so it adheres to those glue dots. Since that's in place, I'll go ahead and remove my washi tape because it's not needed anymore. And then we're going to put on those stabilizers. Now if you look at this, at the donut with that we cut with the flux capacitor, there's this little bit of stitching that's there that basically shows you where you're supposed to place your stabilizer pieces. So you just line it up with the edge there, facing outward, and you're good to go. And we're going to do the same thing with all three, just using a dot liner or tape runner for that and adhering those little stabilizer pieces. Next, we flip the ring over and we can work on the little tabs. Now, the reason that I cut out 2 of them is I wanted it to be a bit stronger than just one piece of cardstock. I also cut these pieces out of heavyweight cardstock. I haven't quite figured out what the correct or best balance would be as to what type of cardstock to use, but this seems to be working okay for this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up the curved edge with the inner part of the circle on that tab, and then we line it up with one of those stabilizers, creating like a little V there, and just press that down. Next, we're going to put that last donut on there and line it up on top of the other ones, and then we're going to put some adhesive on each of those little stabilizers and just fold it over the first one. Now, you want to do this pretty loose, not too loose but not too tight. If it's too tight, nothing's going to move, and you're just going to basically hug it around onto that last donut. If it goes all the way to the other edge, you probably have it too tight, and of course the first thing I have to do is test it out and make sure that it works. Next, I'm going to go on to be able to do some decorating on this. I'm going to be using the cover plate die for this set and a piece of cardstock. This is actually a piece from Erin Reed's Haunted kit that I've shown you guys on a couple of other videos. So I just went ahead and printed some of that out, and I'm using that for my cover. Next, I am using a trick from Kathy Zilski and just putting some washi tape in the middle of my card to kind of hold it flat so that I can try to get everything arranged here. Next, I'm using one of the tab dies. These are the ones that have the little arrow on there, and I'm cutting it out of some purple glitter cardstock. This is just so that I can get the arrow, so I can glue that down onto my tab and give direction to the recipient so they'll know which way to pull the tab so that they can make that magic iris move. I'll adhere that little arrow down with some Ranger Multi-Matte Media adhesive, and we're good to go on that part. Next, I'm placing that little circle that I cut out earlier in the center of the cover plate on the card base. Now I'm placing the card base in my Tim Holtz stamp platform, and I'm going to do a little stamping. This stamp set is from Simon Says Stamp. It is If the Hat Fits, and I'm just inking up one of the sentiment stamps with some unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts. I'm going to stamp this several times to make sure that it's nice and white and vibrant. I know, overkill, right? Next, I'm going to add some embossing glitter. Now, this embossing glitter is the Clear Sparkle from WOW, and I'm just going to pour that over that pigment ink sentiment that we just stamped. And then I'll take my DARICE heat tool and I'll melt all of that embossing. Now I'm going to repeat the process. I am going to re-ink that stamp and re-stamp down several times. That's one reason why I use the stamp platform. And then I'm going to re-emboss it. That's going to make it just pop just a little bit more. Next, I'm going to add some stamping to the panel. Now, this is also where things start to go wrong. I used a Misty Corners, I think is what it's called, that little ruler, that L-shaped ruler that I had in the corner to position my card panel, and then I positioned some of the witch's hat stamps, and they look really cute and everything, and I went ahead and stamped those down with that same unicorn white ink, and it just looks gorgeous. So I went ahead and stamped it a second time, and then I'm going to go ahead and emboss these just like I did the sentiment. Using that same sparkle embossing glitter. This looks just so pretty right here, and I was so happy and excited with the way that it was turning out. So I'm going ahead and heating that up with my heat tool, and just like I thought with the sentiment, I didn't feel that it was quite bright enough. This is where I made a mistake. First, I'll say that I have not practiced with that little ruler positioning tool. So I put it in place, I put the panel in place, and I forgot to take it out before stamping down. And apparently when I took it out, I shifted the panel slightly, because look what happened. It's not straight, it's not lined up. So now I've got a ghost image. So I try my best to clean off as much of that ink as I can. I used a baby wipe, I used a microfiber cloth. I think I got most of it off, but it also wound up causing the background to fade a little bit. It's not quite as bright purple and black as it was before, so I am going to do my best to fix it. So I'm going to use my distress ink in black soot to try to bring out some of that white, to make the white show up better and to darken up that purple and black bat panel that I used before. The black soot seems to be helping, which is great because, to be honest, I threw the panel in the garbage to begin with and then thought I don't want to start completely over again. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that magic iris to the back of here. So I'm just adding some dot liner adhesive all around the front circle of that magic iris, and then positioning my card panel right over the top so that the circles line up and so that the little pull tab works as well. And then of course I had to try it out, and that looks pretty good. Next, I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of the panel. Now to do this, you just use some foam squares. You're going to be using 3 on each end, 1 for each corner, and then 1 in the center of the short ends. So that way it does not interfere in any way with the mechanism of the magic iris. And then I put some more dot liner adhesive on each of those stabilizers and remove the release paper from my little foam squares. Then we can put it on the card base. To make sure that we get that position correctly, we need to open up the iris first and then position it right over the top, and then we've got perfect placement. I do love the way that this turned out, although I wish that the white was a bit brighter and wanted a little more sparkle. So I went ahead and grabbed some glitter glue, some stickles. I don't remember which color this one is. I think it is... I will look it up and add that down in the description. So I did add some stickles in a few places, you know, added it to the stars, added a few dots, and added it to that little spider that's hanging from that one witch's hat. That finishes up this card for today. I want to thank you for joining us for this Halloween video hop. I encourage you to visit all of the other crafters in the hop because I know they will have a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. And I would love to see what you create. So come join my Facebook group, Crafting with Debbie, and show us your creations. I've left a link down in the description box below. Here are some other videos that you may be interested in. Thank you so much for dropping by, and remember, if I can make it, you can too.